So, like I said earlier, he was with the University of Oklahoma. He played linebacker. He played with the Bills and the Panthers. Recorded 30 sacks in his rookie season. And now he's transitioned into a second career in acting. He played in 2015 in the movie Focus. In 2021, the movie with Kurt Warner, the story of Kurt Warner, the American underdog. He was Ray Lewis at the end of the movie. He played Ray Lewis. And then in 2023, they did a remake of the 1992 film, White Men Can't Jump. He played a role in that, so give it up for Nick.
First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. Two things, I'm a little bit jittery, and excuse my seat, what a lot of, for the kids that are here, I was the guy that was in the booth. I tore my Achilles 4 months ago, filming a show called Bel Air on Peacock. I guess I'll go into my story. So my name is Nick Harris. Ultimately, I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana. I'm a product of a broken home and praying grandparents. My grandparents are the architect of my success, and I would be remiss not to give them 100% credit for everything that I've done in this life. So I'll just go ahead and just go into my story. So from infancy up to the age of 8, I lived with my maternal, paternal grandparents, back and forth with the family. My mother was not in the picture. My father was not in the picture. From 8 until the age of 14, I was homeless. Not in a literal sense, like not without a home, but I bounced around from aunts, uncles, cousins, coaches, ministers, people that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And they wanted me to have stability. At the age of 15, I emancipated myself from both of my parents. I declared myself a product of the state. I saw fit at the age of 15 that my parents were unfit. And that's a big and bold move. What a lot of people don't know is in the state of Louisiana, we are still under French Creole rule, so the rules don't really kind of matter a little bit. And I was a bit of an outlier. I ended up filling out documentation to go to the predominantly Caucasian school in my city, because I knew I wanted to play football. I went there and, nothing that I did, said, or wore indicated that my home life was in turmoil. That is a terrible picture. Oh man. Nothing that I did, said, or wore indicated that my home life was in turmoil. But God places people in your life that you don't even know exist. And also, not all angels have a halo. Some angels are also warriors. My guidance counselor, Mama Welch, I call her Mama Welch, white lady, and I love her to death. She saw me one day and she brought me in her office, and I don't know if I was telling the minister this, and I don't know if I was having a bad day, but something put it on my heart to let her know what was going on. And by the time that we got done with that session, she was in tears, and also child protection was in the office as well. But legally, she had to do her job. So they took me out of the homes that I was in, and I was potentially about to be fostered for about 2 to 3 days. She stepped up and said, absolutely not. My guidance counselor. Now, naturally, she had 3 Caucasian small daughters, so she had to run this by Papa Welch, who I consider to be my father. Without question, I was the son that he never had. He said, absolutely, absolutely. So they adopted me. Ended up going to high school, and then everything worked out for the best. I finished valedictorian of my high school class. Top 13% in the Southeast. I ended up getting over 65 scholarship offers. If I would have stayed in the state of Louisiana through academics and my scholarships, I would have made money to go to college, which is wow. Originally, I was committed to the University of Michigan. I wanted to change the scenery. I had never experienced fall. There's only 2 seasons in Louisiana, if you don't know. It's hot and hotter. brutal. So I wanted to go to Michigan. The big house, I had an affinity for the big house. It was just, that game was crazy to me. But throughout my recruiting process, my maternal grandmother, got terminally ill. And I had to make a decision to be close to home. So I knew that it was a 7-hour drive from Norman, Oklahoma to my hometown of Alexandria, Louisiana. So I said, you know what, before I signed my, also with declaring myself a product of the state, paperwork is awful. Showing up to businesses and telling them, hey, this is my mom. They're like, no, she's white. It's not your mom. So we ended up having to forge my national letter of intent to go to college. Because because ultimately through the rules, I was still an adolescent and I could not be released only to the person whose name was on the birth certificate and my biological mother's name. Yeah, so we forged it. I ended up going to the University of Oklahoma. I hated it. I did not want to be there, homesick. And my Papa Welch, he was like, nope, you're a man, you made a decision, you're gonna stick with it. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. I ended up playing in that Boise game. I was the first African-American homecoming king. I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and I graduated top 3% of my class with a degree in kinesiology. I also have my master's in business administration. My pilot's license as well. I ended up playing my last game collegiate was a national championship game in 2009 against Florida. We ended up losing, but I got defensive MVP in the losing effort. I was drafted 5th round, 147 overall to the Buffalo Bills. It was a kid from Louisiana, excuse me, going from there to upstate New York. God bless me. You have to buy a jacket from there. I didn't have jackets. And the first time it snowed, it was 18 inches, and I didn't go to work. I got fined. And coach calls me, he goes, Harris, what are you doing? I said, I'm not coming, I can't drive in this. So it was myself and a guy from Miami that they had to come and pick up. This is a true story. I ended up playing special teams, just trying to find my way at a different position. And ended up starting the last 8 games of the season. Got injured. They fired the coaching staff, and I got released. And this is the first time dealing with my home life was nothing compared to this. Because this is the first time that in my mind, I wasn't going to be able to do something in the fall. What? I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. And then we had cues. Every time that I smelled fresh cut grass, that was a cue. It's time to cut ball. Thank God, Carolina called. And so I ended up playing for Carolina for 3 years after that. Unfortunately, my body failed me. I had 9 knee surgeries, reconstructed shoulder. I tore my biceps tendon off the bone. But that didn't stop me. I never let those situations become personal. I never let my ego get into it either. And the message, ultimately, what I'm trying to get across is I just figured out how to handle hard better. Right? Handle hard better. Everybody has their own version of hard. Right? So I just figured out a way okay, cool, is this the worst? And I was like, when I look at the news, my blues seem so petty compared to everybody else's. So I sat around and I didn't necessarily know what I was gonna do. And also I'm full-time, so my career now at the present moment, I'm a full-time actor. I got a phone call, and everybody's been asking the entire time that I've been here, hey, how did it happen? What'd you do? Did you go to acting class? No, I have no crazy story. I got a phone call, and they asked me if I wanted to play choreographed football, and I said, okay, great, let's do it. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was hey, you just have the hit here, camera's gonna be up here, this, that, and the other. I ended up getting my paycheck, and I said, wait a minute, I could make this and not hurt in the morning? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So I ended up doing that. And my very first gig was Best Man Holiday with Morris Chestnuts and I Lathan and Terrence Howard. And then I got the call again. I shot Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. I shot probably over 87 commercials. I used to double Von Miller and all of his Adidas and Old Spice commercials as well. I've done Xbox 360, PlayStation, Gatorade, Nike, Bose, anything you can do, you can think of, you can name it. Most recently, and this is also attached to just being a good person, being accountable, being on time, being responsible, respectful, and understanding that this world does not revolve around you. So I told you guys that I was Ray Lewis in the movie American Underdog. Kurt Warner's a Hall of Fame quarterback, undrafted, first guy ever to go undrafted. You know, he wasn't even supposed to play. I didn't have to audition for this role. I got a phone call. Paul, he was there. We had to move to Oklahoma for a month, and I got a phone call, and, and they're like, "Hey, Nick, we got a role for you." And I'm like, "Okay, great." He was like, "Wait, there's a catch." And I'm like, "What's the catch?" It's like, "Can you move from LA to Oklahoma for a month?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's crazy. No, I don't know about that." And I did it, but I didn't know the specs when I got there. So I knew that the role was Ray Lewis, and I didn't necessarily know when we were filming. I sat around and watched you guys play football for, 25 days straight? And I'm just sitting around, because ultimately within the situation with film, they couldn't burn me. I couldn't be on camera in any other facet outside of the facet I was playing as Ray Lewis. I didn't shoot my scene until 3 days later. I mean, the last 3 days of us filming. And I say that to say there was somebody that walked into a room that spoke positively of me, that a room that I wasn't in. And that just shows like the level of character, integrity, and just being accountable. And I just understood how to handle it, because I could have folded. I could have easily folded. Everything, why me, why me, why me? And I always said, why not me? Who am I so special that everything that's happened to me in my life, right, is not? I'm just thankful, I'm the oldest of 12. I'm just thankful that it was me that went through it, than my siblings who may not have handled it as well as I did. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Lastly, those are my jobs. So I'm a full-time actor, and I work animation and gameplay for EA Sports. So if you play Madden, I'm pretty sure a bunch of you guys know, I'm the guy they put in the suit. All the movements, that's all me for the past 7 years. Additionally, I'm a consultant as well for CAB. CAB is a creative player, so ultimately when we released 2025 in August, I'm the guy, all of my movements, all of my likeness, whenever you create a player and you go through the story mode from high school to college, and then your guys actually in the league, that's me as well, with Deion Sanders and Ocho and everything as well. And just filming, I got injured and tore my Achilles, but ultimately, just don't stop. So the message I'm trying to get is like, I like to call myself the kid that did. The kid that did, if you know anything about Alexandria, Louisiana, there's nothing there. I go back because my family's there. It's a bunch of gun violence, and I'm just happy to be here. And lastly, like I haven't slept in my bed like on one day in the past week. I left Los Angeles on Thursday. I flew to my hometown. I held my own camp on Saturday. I flew back to LA on Sunday, and I flew here to be with you guys on yesterday morning. So first, I just want to say thank you guys for having me, and I greatly appreciate it.
Have a little time. Talk about your faith, man, how you came to.
So my faith, like I said, I mentioned my grandmother, my grandparents were the architects of my success. I was in Thursday church, Friday church, Saturday church, Sunday church. I was in church, I was an usher, I sang, I was fat and small. I had a 4-inch growth spurt when I was 13. I look to the hills from where my help comes from. My favorite verse is Colossians 3:23. Everything that you do heartily for God, not for man. Everything that I do, whether I fail or succeed, I know 100%. If I went to it with the mindset that God is behind it, I sleep well at night.
Give it up for Nick.